The time is now 7 o'clock, and I'll call to order the regularly scheduled meeting of the Beloit City Council. We're here at 100 State Street, Beloit, Wisconsin, in the City Hall Forum, and today is Monday, April 20th, 2015. Can I have a roll call?
Roll call shows all councilors are present.
Thank you. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item 3 is special orders of the day and announcements, and before we get to item 3A, we have a very special announcement. On Friday, the Beloit City Council met in a special meeting to approve the appointment of the city manager. And our next city manager is here with us this evening. We have unanimously appointed Lori Curtis Luther, who is currently the county administrator in Peoria County, Illinois, and will be joining us as our next city manager this June 1st. We are very pleased to have Lori. As everybody knows, this was the result of a national search process with a professional recruiting firm, extensive interviews, community participation, both at the front end of the process and in meeting our 3 finalists, and all of those indications, as well as the council's interview, pointed to the obvious choice to lead Beloit forward. We're so glad that Lori accepted our offer, and we're so glad to have her and her family here tonight to introduce her to the community. So Lori, if you would want to come to the podium and introduce your family, we're so glad to have you.
Thank you. It is such an honor to be here, and I'm so incredibly excited about this opportunity. City manager for the city of Beloit. My entire family with me this evening, my husband Chris and our youngest, our 2-year-old Clover. Silas, who was on next in line, Colin and Curtis. And so it was very exciting for them to join me this weekend. But thank you for having all of us. We're very excited to come and get engaged with the community, and so thank you again. I appreciate it, and she won't be coming to most of it. Thank you so much.
And now, item 3A. Is a proclamation declaring April 24th, 2015 as Stand Against Racism Day in the city of Beloit. Vice President Haynes.
Thank you, Mr. President. City of Beloit, official proclamation. Whereas racism and discrimination hurt everyone and have a profound effect upon children, adults, communities, and institutions. And whereas racism can take many different forms, including discrimination, personal attacks, violence, written or verbal threats, or insults, damage to property, graffiti, or inequity of treatment to individuals of race, color, creed, ethnicity by institutions. And whereas the City of Beloit recognizes that all people are treated with dignity, respect, and justice. Whereas Stand Against Racism Day is a nationally recognized initiative with a purpose of encouraging communities to raise awareness that racism still exists while offering to be part of the solution to end racism and other forms of discrimination. And whereas racism, acts of hate, violence, and disparity in our institutions based on race, religion, ethnic heritage, gender orientation, or disability not only affect the victim, but infect our entire community and nation. And whereas the City of Beloit supports the mission of the YWC to eliminate racism in our nation, state, and community, for the City Council President of the City of Beloit does hereby declare Friday, April 24th, 2015 as Stand Against Racism Day in the City of Beloit, and calls upon all Beloit citizens to support celebrating diversity and promoting racial justice in the Beloit community. Dated this 20th day of April 2015, Mark Spreitzer, President. Do we have anyone to accept the proclamation? I guess not. Oh, there you go. Right here. Oh, thank you very much. You wish to say?
Yes. On behalf of the YWCA, and especially our Executive Director, Angela Moore, who could not be here tonight, she had a prior meeting, I really thank you, and City Council, for making this proclamation for recognizing April 24th as Stand Against Racism Day. The mission of the YWCA is to eliminate racism and empower women, and that's what we do with all of our effective and programs. We ask you to join us April 24th, Friday at 2 p.m. In our backyard to stand with us in a circle and pledge, to make a pledge against racism. I have pledge cards for each of you, and if you would like to take them, thank you. And I also have stickers for each of you. Thank you very much. Okay. Or you could have your own stand against racism and send us a picture of what that looked like and how it worked. We would really appreciate it. So thank you for supporting the YWCA Rock County and for your partnership and improvement of all of our citizens where we work, play, worship, and learn together. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And item 3B.
A proclamation declaring April 24th, 2015 as Arbor Day.
Vice President Haynes and Mr. Boyson.
Thank you, Mr. President. City of Beloit, Wisconsin official proclamation. Whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees. And whereas this holiday called Arbor Day was first observed with planting of trees in Nebraska, and whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world, and whereas the trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. And whereas the trees are a renewable resource giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of our business areas, and beautify our community. And whereas Beloit has been recognized as a Tree City USA by the National Arbor and desires to continue its tree planting ways. Now, therefore, the City Council President of the City of Beloit does hereby declare April 24th, 2015 as Arbor Day in the City of Beloit and urges all citizens to support their efforts to protect our trees and woodlands and to support our city's urban forestry program. And be it further proclaimed that all Beloit citizens are encouraged to plant trees to brighten the community and promote the well-being of present and future generations. Dated this 20th day of April 2015, Mark Spreitzer, President, Beloit City Council.
And in celebration of Arbor Day this year, on this Friday, April 24th at 10 a.m. at the Cunningham School at 910 Town Line Road in Beloit, we're going to have our Arbor Day, our annual Arbor Day celebration. It'll be a wonderful program, as it has been in recent years that I've seen myself. It involves the students at the school. There's music. There's very inspirational remarks. City Manager Arft, I understand it will be our Master of Ceremonies once again, as he has been in recent years. So I would certainly invite all the councilors to consider coming if possible, and invite everyone in the community to attend also if possible.
Yeah.
There is one final item that we need to address, a very bittersweet moment. Mr. President, would you please join me? Well, it hardly seems possible that Mark has only been on the council since 11, but because he's had such an impact and been everywhere and done everything. And we're not going to be missing you so much as watching you do things in a different venue. I'd like to hand you your plaque. This seems like too little of a gift for everything that you've done for us. It does state here the commissions that you've been a part of and the roles that you played in the council between 2011 and April 2015. Please take this as a very small and meager, gesture of our immense gratitude for your contribution.
Thank you. Thank you so much for this plaque and for that recognition. And I'll take this moment to just make a couple of remarks, as this is my last on the Beloit City Council. And I certainly, this past 4 years, being on the council, to serve as vice president and as president of the council for the past year has been a true honor and a privilege, and one of the highlights of my life is an opportunity to serve this community and to be a part of such significant decisions, and really none bigger than the decision that we just announced in who our next city manager. And it's been a tremendous privilege to serve with this council and with the council members that are no longer on this council that I've had a chance to serve with. And truly, I would not have left this council at this time for any other reason than to represent Beloit and Madison in the State Assembly, which is something that I felt the need to commit my full attention to from here forward, which is why I didn't run again for the council. And so it's also a privilege to represent Beloit and Madison, and would love to be able to both, but these past couple of months I've certainly had my hands full, and been glad to be able to see out the commitment that I started to Beloit, and now to continue with this next chapter, knowing that Beloit is in great hands, that we've a great person elected to take my spot on the council, a great group of 7, a great new city manager, great staff, and a great community behind this city. And I look forward to watching where Beloit goes in the future, and doing everything I can at the state level with those efforts. So thanks to everybody for the privilege and opportunity to serve. Item 4 is public hearings. We have none this evening. That brings us to item 5, which is citizens' participation. We've reached the point in the meeting for members of the public to speak to the council about issues that are coming before us or may come before us in the future. The council will act on any requests this evening unless the item you are speaking about is already on our agenda, but we may act on requests at a future meeting, or we may refer a speaker to staff for assistance. We ask that you hold your comments to 3 minutes or less and avoid making personal attacks. I don't have any sheets of anyone wishing to speak, so if anyone else who did not sign up wishes to speak, approach the podium at this time. Second call for anyone wishing to speak during citizens' participation. Please approach the podium. And third and final call for anyone wishing to speak tonight during citizens' participation. Seeing none, I will close citizens' participation, and item 6 agenda. All items listed under the consent agenda are considered routine and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member so requests. The item will be removed from the general order of business and considered at this point on the agenda. Is there any councilor wishing to remove the consent agenda? Seeing none, the consent agenda consists of items 6A through L. Is there a motion to approve? Motion to approve. Moved by Lupke. Second by Hendricks. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? That is approved, 7-0. Item 7 is ordinances. We have none this. Item 8 is appointments, which we do have. I, the Spreitzer, duly elected president of the Beloit City Council, subject to confirmation by the Beloit City Council, hereby appoint the following citizen members to the vacancies and terms indicated as follows. Said appointments made pursuant to nominations made and approved by the Appointment Review Committee at the regular meeting held April 13th, 2015. To the Community Development Authority, Francesca Ellison, 2672 Sunshine Lane, replacing Gail Johnson for a term ending December 31st, 2018. To the Park Recreation and Conservation Advisory Commission, Anthony T. Stewart, 1417 Hull, replacing Keston Geistwalker for a term ending September 30th, 2015, and Carl Lang, 2015 Sherwood Drive Southwest, replacing Roger Christensen for a term ending September 30th, 2015. To the Plan Commission, incumbent Bill Mathis, incumbent Jan Rooster, and Tinder, all for terms ending April 30th, 2018. And to the Police and Fire Commission, incumbent Mardell Jacobson to a term ending April 30th, 2020. Is there a motion to approve these appointments?
Move approval.
Moved by Haynes, second by Kincaid. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? These are approved 7-0, and I would like to announce the following vacancies and encourage any resident who's not already serving on a committee to consider applying for one of these as a great way to serve the community and get involved in an issue that might interest you. On the Alcohol Beverage License Control Committee, we have one vacancy for a resident. The Appointment Review Committee has one vacancy for a resident. The Board of Appeals, 3 vacancies for residents. Board of Ethics has 1 vacancy for a former city councilor and 3 vacancies for residents. The Board of Review, 1 vacancy for a resident and 2 alternate vacancies for residents. The Equal Opportunities Commission, 1 vacancy for a resident. The Municipal Golf Committee, 1 vacancy for a resident. Park Recreation and Conservation Advisory Commission has 1 vacancy for a youth representative. And the Traffic Review Committee has 2 vacancies for residents. And that brings us to item 9, Councilor Activities and Upcoming Events. Councilor Lubke.
In lieu of any events, I just want to say one thing. I want to thank you, Mark, for 4 years of wonderful service to the city of Beloit and wish you well in the future. We've all benefited from your being on the council and your leadership. Thank you again.
Thank you. Forrest.
Thank you. I too would like to thank you, Mark, for your service to the City Council and wish you well in your continued efforts to fight for the resources that Beloit needs. So I wanted to express that and certainly want to extend a heartfelt welcome to Lori Curtis Luther and her family. We are thrilled that they're here and excited to be working with her. So I know it was to have all the kids here, but it was wonderful to meet them. So thank you to her and her husband for making that happen so we could meet their beautiful family. I did want to announce that this Friday at 8 a.m. at Community Action, there will actually be a construction training program orientation. This is the training program that we started in Beloit last fall, and it's a wonderful opportunity. It's a free training intensive for 2 months, and at the end of the training, the Community Action staff will actually assist you in securing work in the construction field with contractors. And construction work is a job. So I wanted to underscore that all that's required is a GED or high school diploma and a driver's license. So this is a wonderful opportunity. Please spread the word. I have information about it on the page, and you can certainly contact Community Action if you know someone who might be interested in this program. Thank you.
Councilor Kincaid.
When someone leaves, we usually say hurry back. We'll be coming back home, but when you leave for your new job, we hope you will stay there a long time with a very successful career and with the legislature, and we'll be watching you very carefully, and congratulations.
Thank you. Councilor Hendricks.
I actually had both of those things on my list, so thank you. And welcome to Lori and her family. That's all I had for this evening. Thank you.
Councilor Kelly.
Well, what else can I say? Everybody said everything already. Well, we'll miss you, Mark. We're going to miss you a lot. And I did attend something that nobody's mentioned yet. The Rise and Shine event. Usually by the time it gets to me, so everything's been said. But today, I had to say something and nobody did. It was a wonderful event, and people got together and purchased a camera and all the accessories from Mark Burchell, who has given so much with his pictures to the city. And it was wonderful, and it was moving to see how moved he was by the event. So that's it.
Vice President Haynes.
Thank you, Mr. President, and truly thank you, because your contributions for the last 4 years have been stunning, and I'm truly grateful for your camaraderie, for your counsel, for your efforts, and I'm looking forward to seeing what you from here on out, and but I will miss your presence here. And But I hope only for the best for you. And, we did have this a monumental task in replacing, not really replacing Larry, but someone who could carry on his work. I believe that this council deserves a tremendous round of gratitude from the community and from myself for the professionalism that they brought to the search. And I do welcome Lori. I think that she's head and shoulders one of the finest candidates, and I believe that she'll do honor to the city. So thank you.
Thank you. Well, thanks to all my colleagues for those kind words. I truly will miss serving with all of you as well, and it's really been a joy and a pleasure. Item 10 is City Manager's presentation. We have none. Item 11 is reports from boards and city officers. 11A.
Resolution, the submittal of a grant application to the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources to assist in funding the Ironworks pedestrian bridge over the Rock River and Trailhead project within the Beloit City Center.
Mr. Boyson.
In cooperation with the Hendricks Commercial Properties, the city is interested in developing a pedestrian bridge over the Rock River, which will incorporate a trailhead at the Ironworks in the Beloit City Center. The project cost is over $1 million, and grant funding will make the project feasible. The city would be the project sponsor with local matching funds provided by the Hendricks Commercial Development Company. The project will enhance quality of life in Beloit by providing connectivity between the east and west sides of the Rock River in the city center. It is recommended that the council approve the resolution authorizing the city manager to apply for the Wisconsin DNR grant. No budget impact would result since the local share of the project is to be provided by the Hendricks Commercial Properties Company.
Are there any questions? Councilor DeForest.
Thank you. I have lots of questions. First of all, Mr. Boyson, do you know what the clearance will be of this pedestrian bridge? Between the water and the bridge? Yes.
Offhand, I don't. I know it's higher than the high-level flood elevations, so it would certainly meet all applicable standards. The DNR has had some preliminary conversations with the Batterman Company in particular, who has been engaged by the company. So exactly what the elevations are, I don't know. I know they would comply with all the applicable standards controlled by elevating above flood elevations.
Okay. And who will be responsible for the maintenance?
The discussions.
Maintenance of the
discussions to date do provide for an agreement to eventually be adopted between the city and the Hendricks Company. The maintenance is proposed to be a city-maintained project. There has been discussion of an escrow account that would help assist with that, and the details of that are yet to be finalized with that agreement.
I guess I have some discomfort with voting for this when I don't really know what that means financially for the city, the maintenance of that. And I'm having trouble understanding the public benefit of the pedestrian crossway when the West Grand Avenue Bridge is so close. I mean, how does it help connectivity? It actually diverts people from downtown. We want people to get downtown from the bike path.
Well, it accommodates flow throughout the downtown, of course, and there's proposals for various improvements in the Ironworks development that's underway. I think the YMCA very likely will end up there, and it'll be an important trailhead for access to that, and it'll be more direct from the east side to the west. Of course, there's reverse traffic that's accommodated by it also. I think it'll be a beautiful facility from some of the preliminary diagrams that have been shown to us, and of course, the maintenance is not an inconsequential item, so the city, at a point in time, would need to, the hope is, of course, the grant will be approved, and at that point, the city would have to accept the grant, and we would then anticipate that all the agreements between Hendricks and the city would come to see the layout of the projected maintenance costs and whatever provisions the escrow is providing to cover those.
Okay, another question I had, because the city is is applying for this DNR grant on the Hendricks behalf. So does this affect I mean, is there a sense in the DNR that cities should only ask for so much money, and are we using a sizable chunk of DNR grant funds to go after this pedestrian bridge, or we could go after something else?
No, I think all the indications we've received is when they rank these projects, basically rank a project compared to other projects, not that a region will get a limited amount or anything of that nature. So we got the award for the college-related Riverwalk project. We didn't get the application we made on Milwaukee Avenue, but we received no indication that it had to do with having two submittals in the packet. It was simply a rating process of all the projects in the bin, is what has been indicated to us.
So you don't have a sense that awarded this grant would affect the likelihood that we would be able to pursue other grants from the DNR? You don't think that they consider that they've already granted awards to the community before?
We've not received any indication to that effect.
Okay, and there is no kind of community caps in terms of how much DNR grant funds can be distributed per municipality?
Yeah, and the various rating things, there's nothing that rates that particular criteria in anything we've seen.
Okay, thank you. Those are all my questions.
Councillor Kincaid.
As a recreational cycler, I have been looking forward to the opening of that bridge. Now, will it be connecting to a public street and of course, a bike path on the other side of the river?
Yeah, on the east side, of course, it connects directly to the existing Riverwalk pathway. On the west side, it'll provide for easements to traverse through the ironworks onto our street and path systems further to the west.
The easement, the ironworks would grant the city the easement. Is that
Yes.
easement, or what? What are we talking about?
I'm sure it would be at least a 12-foot easement. Yes.
Has that been designed yet?
No, that's not been detailed yet.
Okay. So we haven't seen what the easement would entail at this point in terms of rights of access and maintenance. I'd assume this would do the maintenance on it.
Yeah, if it's, I guess the detail of that, I haven't seen that detailed yet, so whether it's on something that will be public already under the proposals or not, I'm not certain of that.
Well, with respect to clearance, I'm sure that it'll not only will handle all the floodwater, but it'll probably be high enough for all ships to pass through as well. Good. I'm glad for that assurance. Thank you.
Vice President Haynes.
Yes, I think that one of the things I've noticed at peak times that the Grand Avenue Bridge, the sidewalks on it are filled with traffic, people, having to go into the street, get one another. I think things I'm noticing too is that one of the reasons why they would like to connect Ironworks with Ironworks Hotel is because people who are visiting Ironworks businesses who are staying at the hotel tend to rather than walk down over the other bridge. I'm thinking that typically an attractive pedestrian bridge would be an enhancement to the city, and I believe that it will help pedestrians and bikers get around more easily at peak times. So I think that if the details can be hammered out, I think this is a worthwhile project.
City Manager.
Mr. President, I do need to clarify that I have seen the plans, and there will be a minimum wide bike pedestrian path that will be in a dedicated easement that will run through the Spine Road, through the middle of the Ironworks campus, and that will connect to the new bridge, which of course connects to the East Riverside Trail system. And on the west side, it'll take you all the way through to 3rd Street, and then you'll have to loop around to go up St. Lawrence to hit the 5th Street bike path, but that's an easy connection on the west side. So part of the public purpose for the bridge is to provide a direct connection for bicyclists and pedestrians going from the east to the west side of the river without having to use the public streets. So that's our primary interest. The company's interest, of course, is to connect the hotel to the entire Ironworks campus so that a lot of the trade, a lot of the business at the hotel will support those businesses that are in the Ironworks and vice versa. So I think we have a joint interest here in building the project, both a public and a private purpose that it'll serve.
Councillor Lubke.
I feel this will be a beautiful and striking amenity to downtown Beloit. Will encourage further growth, and it's just, I'm just excited to start the growth. And if we're through with questions, I'll make the proposal for the resolution.
We have more questions, but we can certainly get a motion on the table, so
Okay.
I'll entertain
put the
that
motion on the
motion.
table.
And is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Haynes, and we'll continue to Councilor Kincaid.
Just a question of clarification. So the street at the Ironworks would be a private street maintained by Hendricks. Is that correct? It won't be.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, that's correct. We'll just have an easement for the bike pedestrian traffic
Okay.
through. That Spine Road serves their businesses that are located closer to the riverside of the campus, and they'll be maintaining that road. They're putting it at their cost, and they'll be maintaining
Okay.
it.
Will they? But there will be access, of course, for emergency responders to use that road, of course. Do we anticipate any traffic? Will there be a parking lot connecting to the bike path or crossing it, or how does that work?
There's no parking lot specifically related to the pedestrian. Of course, all the parking for the facilities will be available.
Not having seen the plans, I'm sorry to ask these
Some people might
questions
say at
as
the
they
hotel, of course,
arise.
wouldn't need to drive their car and park on the other side if they had easy
Okay.
walking access, like Larry mentioned.
Yeah, thank you.
Councilor DeForest.
So, Mr. Boyson, based on the one drawing we've been provided, there's not an entry or exit from the parking lot onto that Spine Road, so we don't have to worry about cars coming out or going into that parking lot? I don't see one indicated.
That's right. There'd be an easement that would be off the road for bikes. It would be not shared with traffic, is what all the discussion has been.
I don't see how an easement could be off the road because there's nothing off the road besides a building and a parking lot. So it'd have to go down the road, it looks like, to me. I just want to make sure that if part of the point of this is to help bikers get from east side to west side or vice versa, that they're not having to battle with cars when they don't have to do that on Grand Avenue.
Well, certainly you'd always have the option to take your preferred route, but I think my understanding is it'll be a very nice accommodation for bicycle and pedestrians to the west.
It will be a dedicated easement. It'll be separate space. But it is in the Spine Road. Pardon me. It has to be in the Spine Road because there's no other way to get through. So it will go through as part of the Spine Road, but it will be a dedicated space for pedestrians and bikers.
Well, I guess I'll just make my comment that I'm uncomfortable supporting this when I'm not clear about who's going to be responsible for maintenance. That makes me very uncomfortable. And I'm not convinced of the overwhelming benefit to apply for $1 million grant for this. So, thank you.
I have two questions. In terms of the clearance, do we know, would this be passable under it by canoe or kayak, or would it be lower to the water than that?
It certainly would be, yes.
It would be.
It'll be similar to other bridges.
That'll be higher. This is much higher than the Grand Avenue.
Oh.
And what is the timeline on this grant application process?
The deadline is coming up pretty soon. And then once it's submitted, I believe it'll be on a similar schedule last year with our Big Hill Parks project, and it seemed that it was thought to be in the fall that they were going to announce it. It seemed like there were some delays that might occur again. It seems like that commonly happens, but later this year we would know, is my understanding.
Is the council committed to going ahead and having this built if we approve the grant application today and get the grant, or would we have another bite at the apple in terms of making sure the maintenance piece is taken care of?
Yes, certainly the grant wouldn't even be accepted by the council. It'll be applied for, and but the actual improvement of the bike facility would be a public improvement, so the council would certainly have an approval of that plan at such time all that is worked out in fine detail.
Thank you.
And there'll also be an agreement between Hendricks and the city that would be a new agreement to have council action on.
Councilor Kincaid.
I'm sorry, so we would build these bike paths on the on the private street, or Hendricks would build it?
The proposal now is for the city to be the lead agency pursuant to the grant arrangements, and the detail of exactly who would be the contracting agency would all be defined in the city Hendricks
understood.
development. So that's not absolutely determined.
Yeah, my question is it's on the west side of the street, west side of the river. There's the private street would be built on private land. And the bike path would exist on private land, and I just wanted to be clear that that part of the bike path will be built by the entity that builds the street. Is that a correct assumption?
It'll certainly be funded by, all the discussion has been to be, all local funding would be provided by the company, and it's my impression that that would be the case. The bridge, I'm a little less clear on how they will contract for that.
City Manager.
We're talking about two different things here. The resolution this evening is simply to apply for a grant to cover half for the bike pedestrian bridge across the river. On the Spine Road, which Hendricks Commercial Properties is already building, there will be a set aside at least 10 feet wide of a bike pedestrian path. That will be built as the Spine Road is completed and will be maintained by Hendricks Commercial Properties, along with the road, all the other properties on their campus.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Vice President Haynes.
Well, I think it's all come forward that what I really was interested in saying is that really this comes down to application for the grant. We're going to have another crack at this. If we're terribly worried about it, the devil will be in the details. I think we should and get our name in the ring to go ahead and get this grant if at all possible.
There is a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? This is approved 6-1. Item 11B.
Resolution approving second lease extension agreement at 80 and 100 East Grand Avenue, Beloit, Wisconsin.
And Attorney Krieger.
As council is aware, Fat Wallet currently leases some space at 80 and 100 East Grand from the city of Beloit. They've asked for an extension of their lease for an additional 3 years. It's actually a 1-year extension with 2 additional options for other years. As you know, Fat Wallet came to the city after Illinois passed the online tax legislation. Been a very good tenant for the city. As council is also aware, the city is in negotiations with Hendricks Commercial Properties to sell those buildings, and this will provide Fat Wallet a level of in that moving forward. So some of the highlights of the lease is that, again, it's extending for 1 year with 2 additional 1-year terms. The lease rate is at $5.065 per square foot, and that will escalate 3% each year. As with Fat Wallet is responsible for paying all the utilities, and for the vacant part of the property, there's a rent credit, or there's a utility credit, which is just over $900. With this second lease extension, we've also addressed the issue of the real estate taxes. Previously, there was about a $300 a month payment. That's been increased to $50 per month. It more reflects accurately what those real estate taxes are for that parcel. And then there's also some additional minor language changes that just gives Fat Wallet a level of protection should Hendricks Commercial Properties be interested in doing anything with that property in the future. With that, I'll take any questions if anyone has any.
Are there any questions? Or is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Moved by Lubke, second by Kelly. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? This is approved 7-0. Item 11C.
Resolution amending the 2015 capital budget to include a project for the design of Collie Road from Gateway Boulevard to the east city limits.
A transportation enhancement, or transportation economic assistance T grant is being applied for from the Wisconsin Department of Transportation for the design and construction of this project. Plans are required for the application. The project will consist of construction of Collie Road to an urban an urban concrete street with on-road bike lanes, sidewalk along the north side, sanitary sewer extension, and potential at the intersection and Collie. Both Pratt Industries and Chicago Fittings need access to Collie Road. Funds for a complete prior year TIF 10 project are being used to fund the budget amendment. The project will enhance quality of life in Beloit by improving the safety in this developing area. Adoption of the budget amendment resolution is recommended.
Are there any questions? Councilor DeForest.
Thank you. Mr. Boyson, just for clarification, this is funding for the plan. 30% of the plan for the water system is
It's a T
92,000?
grant that we're applying for. It's just an explanation. We need to proceed now. We're constructing it next year. We need to proceed now with the budget amendment because the design needs to be initiated to get us to the 30% design stage so that the T grant application can be submitted.
I understand that, but I'm having trouble understanding, and I am just a layperson. Why does it cost over $100,000 to develop a plan? That's just 30% of the cost of the plan.
The current year budget amendment is covering basically the local share that we would need to expend within this year. So we'll need to get 30% of the plans done for the grant application. Then we'll need to complete the plans to proceed then with the 2016 construction of the improvements. So it'll cover the full cost of the designing proposed to be done in 2015.
How much is the total plan for the water system?
Again, it's not a water system.
Mr. President, I'm sorry, we need to clarify this. The water main in Collie Road is under construction now. Council approved that construction project several weeks ago. What you're looking at here under funding sources are 3 prior capital improvement projects that were funded with TID 10 proceeds. Those projects have been completed or are near complete, and there's funds remaining in those original budgets. And what we're doing is we're transferring, or we're recommending you do, is transfer a total of $142,000 that are left in those various budgets now that those projects are completed, and reappropriate that in a new expense amount for the Collie Road construction. And $10,000 of that amount will go for in-house engineering and approximately $132,000 for the consulting engineer that will design the roadway. And we've got to get to a 30% design standard to have some preliminary concepts, layouts, etc. before we make the T-grant application. We need to get that application in by late summer if we're going to get that reviewed and approved and get the plans finished, ready to bid it late this winter, early next spring. So that's what we're asking you tonight, is simply to approve $142,000 with the sources coming from prior capital projects that have funds remaining now that those projects have been built.
I believe I understand what we're asking for. I guess my question is still, why does it cost this much money to develop a plan?
Well, an engineering plan is cost that amount of money for a project of this scope. Now, the actual price of the agreement is under negotiation, so we will ensure that we do the very best job possible to come in, hopefully well with under the budget allocation, but that is what we feel we would need to have a certainty of completing the project, and I would anticipate we won't exceed it, and we will hopefully be below that by the end of the fiscal year.
So this money is going to a consultant to develop a plan?
Yes.
These are engineering and design plans.
And how much is the total cost of this plan? If this is just 30%, then...
No, this is all of it.
No, this is the total engineering cost.
Okay.
We have to get to 30%, which is a preliminary plan step and already have the detail we need to apply for the T grant. That's got to be finished immediately in the next 3 or 4 months so we can get the grant application submitted. The $142,000 we think is enough to do the design work for the entire project. We'll know more as we progress, but our estimate is that that will be sufficient for engineering and design services for the entire project.
I'm sorry, I guess I'm just having a hard time buying that it costs $142,000 to hire, develop a design plan. That seems incredible to me.
You're kidding. That's very
No,
much
I'm
in
not
line
kidding.
with the design standard cost for all of our infrastructure projects. There's nothing unique or different here. The plan cost will be somewhere in the 6-7% range of the total project. We're talking about constructing a brand new road from scratch with to an urban industrial design standard similar to Gateway Boulevard, only I don't know if it'll be 4-lane or not. We haven't got far enough in the design. And there'll be storm sewers installed, lighting, street trees. There's a sidewalk, pedestrian path will be on the north side. It'll be on-road bike path. So it'll be a complete new construction. I'm missing what's different here.
So,
Temporary sewer extension is included also.
Yeah.
and we're saying that only 10,000 of the design can be done by our in-house staff. The arguments that we make that's made every budget cycle is that we need to retain our in-house engineering staff because they help with the design work for these CIP projects, and we haven't had a lot of them recently, and now we have a big one, and now we're giving it all to consultant and paying them all that money.
Well, our in-house staff is committed at this point. Of course, this is kind of a quickly formulated plan that is needed to meet the development goals that came to us through the opportunities with Pratt and the other development in the area. So everyone's fully allocated as far as the engagement of staff.
Mr. President, again, this is standard policy and practice, has been so in the city for decades. Our in-house work, things like the intermittent street resurfacing program, some of the street lighting projects, problems that we run into with existing infrastructure that need major maintenance or reconstruction, all that design work is done in-house. We also supervise design engineers. All infrastructure projects built in its modern history all had a consulting engineer as the lead designer. We don't have to begin to have enough money or enough taxes to have engineering staff with all the different disciplines there that would be required to do a full design on all of these projects, plus all of the grantsmanship activities that are required to manage it. Our in-house engineers oversee this work and coordinate with the consultants and with the state DOT on most of these projects. Pardon me again, but this is standard practice. There's nothing here that's unusual or different from what's done with any project. The amount of money is relatively small compared to the design cost on some of the larger pieces of infrastructure that the city has built over the years. So I'm not sure what's different or unique about it. Is there anything unusual here that we're doing differently?
I think I'd like to go ahead and bring some perspective to this, and maybe this will explain it a little differently, Sheila. One of the things this consulting engineer is going to do is they're going to take soil samples, they're going to core down, they're going to determine the soil composition, they're going to do advanced computer modeling of the load-bearing properties of how water will flow through the area. They'll have an advanced idea of additional material has to be moved, both in and out, how deeply it must be compacted, and so they'll have spent an amazing amount of man hours in their expertise to determine where water flows, where the stress points in the concrete, how much compaction they're going to need, what the load-bearing properties of the soil are, what they're going to have to do to get to a base subsoil that will support the roadway, and what effort's going to have to go utilities underneath that roadway. It really, technically they tell us it's anywhere from 6, 7 to 10% of a construction cost, but on a scope project of this nature, there'll be many hours of computer modeling and constantly refining their data, going out on site and actually gaining hard data on what exactly what are the current conditions and what alterations have to be made to the terrain. I hope that helps a little.
That's helpful. So I have a sense of the scope and depth of the work, because obviously I didn't have a sense of that from just the staff. For the funding is coming from TIF 10, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
All right, thank you.
Are there any other questions on this item? We this right? Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
Moved by Kincaid, second by Lupke. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? This is approved 7-0. 11D.
Resolution amending the 2015 capital improvements budget and authorizing the purchase of new equipment for the fire department.
Chief Liggett.
Good evening, City Council.
Good evening.
We brought a resolution to you this evening to amend the budget to purchase 2 fire engines. We are in the process of we've put together as part of our strategic initiatives for 2014 and 15 a labor management committee to examine our fire apparatus. We've had quite a bit of repairs over the last couple of years. Well over $100,000 worth of repairs on 2 particular engines, the 2 that are before you this evening to be replaced. These are critical pieces of equipment that we rely on every day from a life safety perspective. And they're currently 16 years old and 18 years old, respectively. They're both at the end of their service life. In the original equipment replacement plan for these engines, we had designed them to be replaced at 13 years. So one is 3 years beyond its useful life, and the other is 5 years beyond its useful life. What we're looking for this evening is approval of a resolution to increase our funding for this year for the down payment on 2 engines. That's approximately a total allotment of $402,577. The increase in the funding for this year would be $246,627 over the request of $155,950. Originally, we had intended to use a portion of our equipment replacement fund for this, and we are doing that but increasing the allotment from that equipment replacement fund. So this is no new borrowing. It's money that we have in-house in our equipment replacement fund to make the purchase this year. Now, I know that this is half the purchase for 2 engines, so the total purchase is going to be about 402. 404, or excuse me, 804. Doing the math in my head on the fly. Sorry about that. We're going out to public bid for this equipment. We've worked with a Wisconsin vendor at this point to design the specifications for the rig, both rigs, and we are going to have purchasing incentives if this particular vendor is selected in the process that gives us discounts for ordering up to 3. What we will do from this perspective is make the purchase of these 2 engines with a down payment this year, and in January, and then this year, excuse me, and then in January paying off the engines in the CIP for 2016, with an expected delivery sometime in early spring. That early payment plan allows us some significant discounts from the vendor, and then also gives us the ability to promise the purchase of a third engine within a 3-year period. Within a 3-year period, and we get the same purchase price with the exception of increase in material costs by market value. So if steel increases in cost, we have to absorb those also. So it really does save us quite a bit of money over that period of time, and this will get our fleet in entire compliance with NFPA standards and have us safe, more fuel efficient, better emissions, and we'll be ready for protecting the citizens of the city of Beloit. I'd entertain any questions that you have.
I'll start with one question. How sure are we that we're going to need to purchase the third one within that time frame?
The third engine is also delivered in 1999. We just rebuilt that engine completely. Basically, the engine was replaced, transmission was replaced just recently. So we're going to try to get another 18 months to 24 months out of that particular engine before we have to replace it. Naturally, the pump is in sound condition, but the engine itself is structurally deteriorating, and it will be a good idea to replace it in that.
Councilor Kincaid.
These are capital costs which we all foresaw, so we shouldn't be surprised that we have to replace 16 and 18-year-old pieces of equipment. So I'm assuming that we've already understood at some point of our capital works planning, our CIP planning, our strategic planning, we've taken into account wherever necessary the fact that we have these large expenditures which have to be taken care of before that equipment wears out and move on. So is that a reasonable assumption?
Yes. From a historical perspective, in 1997, prior city manager Jane Wood and Kathy Reynolds, our finance director, worked with the fire department on a community-based study where we had a community group come in and assist us with evaluating our fire apparatus and our fire stations. We put together an equipment replacement plan involved an equipment replacement fund that was actually at that point in time fully funded. Some money internally from the Department of Public Works to purchase the engines we have now and paid that back over time. And also contributed from our operating budget to that equipment replacement fund. Sorry, they're squawking in my ear. Equipment replacement fund to fund these engines. When the economy started declining in 2007 and our costs internally, our levy freeze came into play with the Governor McCallum, we began to have to cut away from our operating budget to fund that program. So over the last 13 years now, we have not been able to fund that program fully, and now we're funding it only when the ambulance budget a very minimum amount of about $25,000 a year. And even that may not be able to be sustained in the current budget. So right now that money's dried up. The money that we're using here from the equipment replacement fund is really the last dollars that we have available to us in the equipment replacement fund for the fire department. From this point forward, our purchasing for engines will be under capital improvements. The city would be, that R word, referendum, would pass a referendum to fund it. It's not feasible for us. This community wouldn't be able to handle it. And so from a funding perspective, our options are very limited. If we look at a lease purchase type of program where we purchase the rigs through leasing them from the company, that's an operational expenditure, not CIP. And we would have to cut our operating budget because of the levy freeze with that particular situation. So funding these programs are very limited. It's something we do have to have a long-range plan for. And these rigs that we're purchasing now, we're hoping that will last us at least 10 years. We can enter a program where we can have these rigs turn over in a 10-year period with this particular vendor that we're looking at, and get a new rig, large discounts to help us keep a good rotation on that. Our original was to put these on an 18-month rotation over the next several years so that we didn't get them all in 1 year. But our repair costs and our out-of-service time has exceeded our capacity to be safe for our residents and safe for our employees. So we need to get those engines. I hope that helps.
Councilor Lubke.
Or modify, if I'm wrong in this, but we could extend the useful life of these engines, quite a bit, I would assume, and as far as repairs and maintenance, you didn't have to send one out every time an ambulance goes out, because every time an ambulance goes out, we send one of these trucks out too. Is that correct?
Not every time. We send those out on critical medical calls where advanced life support is beneficial to the survival of that patient. Seizures, strokes, heart attacks, car accidents, patients that might be very heavy, shortness of breath, those types of calls. You know, we don't typically send an engine out on a bloody nose or a broken leg or an ill subject.
But that's done because you need the manpower out there, and then if another call comes in, the truck is out there, they can go to that other call. Is that?
That's correct.
Okay.
Happening right now in my ear.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
Councilor DeForest.
Thank you. Chief Liggett, would it be possible at our budget sessions for you to provide us with the inventory of the fleet and kind of where they're at with longevity, just so we can start forecasting where we're going to be at here?
That's actually part of our strategic plan, the strategic objective for this year. My committee, my labor management committee, is putting together that very information.
Perfect.
That I'd like to present to the council at this point.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions, or is there a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion to approve.
I'll second.
Moved by Lupke, second by DeForest. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? This is approved. 11E.
Thank you very much.
Declaring opposition to freezing the Knowles Nelson Stewardship Program Fund.
City Manager Arft.
Thank you, Mr. President. This resolution was originally drafted by Rock County and approved by the county board. The county obviously makes use of this program a lot more than we do. But one of the items was included in the governor's proposed budget this year was to eliminate the Knowles Nelson Stewardship Program, or at least put it on hold for a number of years and not buy any more property. Rock County in particular has had success with this program. They've used it to buy open space. They've used it for their land preservation. A lot of other government entities around the state have as well, and it's another one of those programs that's had positive impact on the state, setting aside thousands of acres over the years for open space, for state parks, for other leisure type services and operations, not to mention environmentally sensitive sites. The county sent the resolution on to us, ask the cities if we would consider this in support. Once again, we think this is really good public policy to continue the fund and the process of acquiring real estate, particularly again in environmentally sensitive areas. So we wanted to submit it to council tonight to ask you to consider approving this and communicating this to our state delegation as well.
Are there any questions? Or is there?
Make motion.
Second.
Moved by Kincaid, second by Kelly. Councilor DeForest.
I'd just like to add that this is also funding our ag land preservation efforts too. So not just parks, but also agricultural land.
Vice President Haynes.
Just a minor comment. I seem to remember in my childhood when protection of our environment and public lands was a bipartisan issue. Evidently, it's not anymore.
Is there discussion?
You thought my comments were controversial.
Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? This is approved 7-0. That brings us to item 12.
Move to adjourn.
Moved by Hendricks.
We stay long.
I'll second that if nobody else is going to.
There you go.
Is all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? We are adjourned.